Hello again, friends. I wanted to just tell you I'm sorry for not letting you know that I was going to be away for a bit. I got some messages, some very sweet messages from some of you who were concerned about my absence over the last couple weeks. Everything is fine. We just took a family trip somewhere, and I will be telling you about that over on my Instagram. I'm going to make an Insta story highlight about that trip, and I'm also going to make some videos here in the future about that trip because I learned quite a bit. We actually went to Disney World, and I learned quite a bit about doing that in a frugal manner and in a way that helped us avoid lines and crowds and things like that. Things that were very important to my husband especially. So I will be sharing kind of like tips and tricks videos related to that. I'll keep them short and brief, but I don't want you to think that when you see that content that I'm turning into a travel vlogger or Disney mom vlogger person. That's not the case at all. I just feel that, a lot of you probably are looking at family vacations. One of the perks of homeschooling is being able to travel when you want and where you want and not have to worry about getting out of school and things like that. So I know a lot of you are also on a budget like we are, and so maybe some of the money saving tips that I learned would help some of you. So I will be sharing those in the future, but don't worry, I'm not going to change the focus and content of this channel. It is all things homeschool and will remain that way for the foreseeable future, okay? Unless the Lord changes my heart, and I will let you know, okay? And today I have an update video for you, but I am recording this a little bit later because we did take a break and have a family vacation, and so it's no longer the first month of homeschool. We're gonna call this the 6-week update, the first 6 weeks update for my 4th grader. I actually did record a month 1 update for my kindergartner. I will leave that linked below, but I didn't get around to getting my 4th graders update video filmed before we went on our vacation, and so now we're actually in week 7, so I will just call this the first 6 weeks update for my 4th grader. And what I'm going to do, since he actually has a lot more subjects than my kindergartner, I'm not going to go through every single subject that we're doing and letting you know how it's going. What I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to refer you to my curriculum choices video, which again I will leave that below, and I will just kind of highlight things that we're changing or things that maybe are really, really going well. Okay, so the first thing that we're having to change up a little bit is in our science course. Now, we love our science course. We're using God's Design for Life, both the standard and the beginner version for my kids. But we are having to change things up just a little bit in the way of delivery, in the way that I present the lessons. I really want my son to feel successful at the end of our lessons, and I'm finding that because the material is written for grade 3 through 8, there's quite a bit of advanced vocabulary and concepts in here that really don't meet my goals for this level of science. I really just want exposure and discovery and not so much the deeper concepts and memorization of things. So I'm changing up how I'm delivering the lesson, how I'm presenting it a little bit, so that he doesn't feel like he has to grasp everything that I'm sharing. I'm kind of weeding out some things. I'm kind of previewing the lesson ahead of time before I give it to him so that I can kind of take out the things that I don't intend for him to master or learn in that lesson and just give him the things that I actually want him to understand. And by doing that, he's now ending the lesson feeling a little better and not feeling so discouraged like, this is way too hard for him. So I just kind of take the time at the beginning of the lesson to peruse things, see what I want to share, see what I want him to read, and go from there. So that is actually working really well, and it's just another testimony to the fact that curricula is a tool, and we can use it in the way that works best for our family. And this is one little tweak that we've made in our science course to make it work for us. But overall, we really love it. One thing that's been a big delight for us is the activities. The activities that are scheduled in that course are just so great. They're well thought out, they're easy to do, and I've actually started using them as my object lessons. So, for example, we just did the parts of a flower lesson, and the activity was to actually take a pipe cleaner and some Play-Doh and these cutouts and some other things, some other materials, and basically build a flower. And I decided to do that during the lesson in lieu of doing it as an assignment, because I used that as we were building it. I said, okay, now this part here, this is the next part. Now what is this? And I would actually talk about the parts of the flower as we were building it. So there was no assignment afterwards. I actually did it as part of the lesson with the kids, but it worked out really well because I had a visual right there to use to present the material. So that's the only little change we're making with science, bringing some of the assignments in to the lesson time, and me taking the few seconds to just peruse things and kind of decide what I'm going to share ahead of time. So that's the one thing I wanted to point out about science, one little tweak we're making. Another tweak we're making, a very similar one, is in history. Again, the course is written for an age range. We are using the Not Grass, Uncle Sam and You course, and the range I believe is 5th grade to 8th grade, and so we're using it with the 4th graders. So again, I'm having to take some time at the beginning of the lesson and peruse and see what I want to share, so that again my son feels successful at the end of the lesson. Like I haven't given him something really super challenging that he feels like he should be understanding and he's not. So I'm taking the time at the beginning of that history lesson to kind of break things down before I give it to my son. Whereas at the beginning of our school year, I would just sit down and read what I had planned out in my lesson without perusing it. And my son kind of got a little frustrated with that, because I was giving him material that was at the 7th and 8th grade level, and he's only in 4th grade. So I've made those changes, and it's going very well. I'm using a lot from homeschoolhistory.com. It's a supplemental resource that Notgrass puts out. I'm actually using that probably for about a third of our lessons. So I highly recommend you check that out. I'll leave a link below. If you're struggling with history in any way, there's a ton of wonderful supplemental material there that you could use either in lieu of a lesson or to further explain a lesson concept. Something else I wanted to highlight to you, moving along to things that are working very well, are handwriting. We love it. If you have a child who is struggling to learn cursive, I highly recommend the EXL workbooks from Amazon. I don't know of any other place that you can buy them, so if you know of a curriculum publisher that puts them in part of a package or something like that, feel free to leave that below. I found them on Amazon, and I just think that the way they teach cursive is perfect for little boys who really don't want to learn cursive and really don't like writing that much. So we really, really love those workbooks, and he does one page per day, and we do it 2 days a week, and it's really, really going well. And then the last little update I wanted to share with you is math, because a lot of you were really concerned and wondering how this was going to go with me not using a teacher guide for math and just using the student book and teaching it from the student book on my own. It's actually going well. We haven't run into any hiccups with teaching on that standpoint, but we are not where I want to be in math. We're 6 weeks in, and we're just finishing the 2nd chapter, and I really had intended to do all 16 chapters of math. So that would put us, behind. We need to be a little further in than where we are in order to meet the pace in order to reach that goal. So this means that I'm probably going to have us either do more math each day or add math in on Fridays. I haven't decided what I'm going to do there. But I don't want to move too quickly, because we're at a good place with math right now as far as my son understanding the concepts that we're going over and doing his assignment without complaint and doing it successfully. So I don't want to mess with that too much. So I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted on that, what we decide to do, whether we decide to do more each day or add it in on Fridays. I really don't want to add it in on Fridays, because our Fridays are, the fun day, and who wants to have an extra math lesson on those fun days? So I haven't quite decided what we're going to do, but I do feel behind in math, and I've never really been one to say we're behind in this or that, because I just feel like we're at the pace we should be at. But I don't feel that we've reached the level of rigor that he can handle. I don't feel that he necessarily is is at the peak of what he can understand, or the assignment level that he can do. I feel like he could do more. So I feel that speeding things up a little bit would be okay. Just not sure. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. So stay tuned for that. I will let you know. But as far as not needing the teacher guide, we have not needed it. We have not needed it. The method of using the student handbook in the back of the student text and using the examples on the assignment page, that method is working really well. And we really haven't encountered anything brand new except for decimals. When we got to decimals, I thought, though, this is going to be the test, right? To see if the way I plan to teach math is going to work. This is going to be the test. And it was. And we passed it. We did great. We looked up some videos on the Math Antics YouTube channel. I think that's a great one to follow. But that was like the first new topic that we covered in math. And so that was a good test for us to see if this plan that I came up with was going to work, and I think it did. So I will keep you posted on what we decide to do, whether we decide to do more math each day, or we decide to add in Friday. And you can leave, of course, your advice on that or your experience with that below. I love learning from you all. But that's about it for a 6 weeks update. Notice I didn't talk about all of the subjects that we're doing, because for some subjects there's just really nothing to share. We're doing what we plan to do. It's going all right. We're not changing anything. And I just didn't want to make this go too much more past 10 minutes. So I just thought I'd share with you some highlights and leave it at that. So with that, I'm going to end this video and just ask you to please leave any questions down below if you want to know more information about how things are going, and any comments you have or suggestions for things I might have mentioned in this video. And I will catch you in the next video.